Welcome to the CEO Tech Talks podcast, where vision meets impact. I am your host, Umbreen Ahmed. Each episode, I sit down with exceptional leaders who are shaping the future of business, technology, and transformation. This show is about more than just success. It's about clarity, purpose, and those bold decisions that light the way forward. Join me as we uncover the insights, challenges, and breakthroughs from today's most inspiring voices. Leaders who are redefining what it means to lead in a rapidly changing world. This is CEO Tech Talks. Let's dive in. Today, I'm happy to have Greg Bennett as our guest. Greg is the founder and executive director of Genius Change, as well as a best-selling author of Can Make Caffeine Nervous. Well,
That's right. Thank you for having me on your podcast, your TV show, your webcast, whatever it's called today. I'm with you and I'm happy to be here.
thank you so much for joining. Well, with that, please tell us about yourself and what you do.
Well, it's what I do today is much different than I did many years ago, but it all culminates to the same thing. I started off in the advertising business way back when advertising was, I call it advertising. And so I founded 3 companies. First was the Luna Bacardi Group, and that became one of the largest privately held promotion agencies in the world. Sold that, created something called branded entertainment. And that was really when branded entertainment was coming into play. That was in the 80s and 90s. And it was actually taking products and putting them into shows, not like product placement where you see a Coke or a car, but actually becomes part of the storyline. So if you remember the FedEx plane in Castaway, that's really good branded entertainment because the FedEx plane had a reason to be there, became part of the story. Just brilliant advertising. Or you have BMW. As you know, I love BMWs. You had the series called the BMW, called the BMW series. Guy Ritchie directed some of them. Madonna was in them. And they were just fabulous, fabulous short films. And that turned into a multi-billion-dollar business worldwide. Sold that to CBS. Worked at CBS, created their branded entertainment division for about 5 years, left CBS, and then started Iconoclast Brand Marketing and Entertainment. And Iconoclast was really unique because what Iconoclast did is it wasn't traditional marketing. We worked with the 5 senses of the brain and did marketing, understanding the 5 senses of the brain. And our staff consisted of psychiatrists, neurologists, psychologists, social workers. And our strategies really was using how does the brain function and how will it receive this message? And we worked everything from promotions onto designing lobbies of buildings, because part of that is really touching the senses of people when they're walking through their lobby. They're seeing it, they're feeling it, and it's conveying a message without them even knowing. Out of that business, actually, we're celebrating today because I finally done with that company, moving on. And then, as you said, I mentioned, thank you very much. With that, I'm going to go buy a pizza tonight. I can afford it now.
Okay.
And a Pepsi. And then I had it over the last 5 years. My book came out. I Can Make Caffeine Nervous. I need to plug it, everybody. Right there, I Can Make Caffeine Nervous. It's really a fun book because it goes in my life about all the pitches, how hard it was to win business, how hard it was to keep clients, and the secrets of making a company successful. And you're really a fly on the wall for 20 years, and you're learning all the things that clients do to fire you, to hire you. So it's really the insights of the marketing, advertising, communication business. And other than that, I'm at my pinnacle of my career because I'm here with you.
Okay, well, thank
There
you.
you go.
Honored.
You're more than welcome.
Well, speaking of your book, so what was your favorite part of this book?
Finishing it
Okay.
because it took a lot of work. It was really, I wrote it from my heart and soul. And it was really a journey of 5 years. And then you had to really put it in a chronological order. But what I did was make sure, what was the interesting part is I don't have chapters, I have essays. And it really, one essay goes to the other essay, goes to the other essay loosely. But you can read essay number 51 or read essay 32, and you'll still learn a lot. You'll still have a good laugh. I think the hardest part was making sure that it was edited perfectly because I'm a stickler for that. Two, getting an editor that would edit in your voice. That was key because when I started, I had an editor that made it sound like a suburban housewife from New Jersey. It was like, not me. That's not me talking.
Okay.
So that didn't work out. And finally, I went back to a very close friend and a very good editor, Amy Smith. She's known me for a long time and she knows how to put my words on paper. She did say, though, I'm the only guy she's met that can write a sentence in the future, past, and present. Future, past, and present in one sentence. She said, we'll have to work on that. And we did. So, but it was all pretty tough. It was getting the stories, making sure they were narrated properly, making sure that the audience would enjoy it. It wasn't a memoir because a memoir, a lot of times, people just reminiscing and people don't give a shit about half the things you reminisce about. This is about what would real people really, really care about and have a good laugh. And then I think it also delves into mental illness, which we spoke when we first interviewed. We had our initial meeting, and I dealt with mental illness at the age of 40. I was hit like a bat out of hell. My life just, as I say, it wasn't getting any better life till it got worse, and it got worse after the mental illness fights because it is a bite. It's a fight every day. Even today, you still have to manage it. It never goes away mental illness per se. You always have to manage it, be aware of it. And what I try to explain to people is that mental health is like body health or dental health. You take care of your body, you get lots of sleep, you drink lots of water, eat good food. That's mental health. Stress is normal in normal life. Panic is normal, but as long as it doesn't change your lifestyle, mental illness changes your lifestyle and how you go about living. So that's the difference between mental health and mental illness. But I'm fine. I'm dealing with it. And it's one of the things that I want to do in my future now is help people deal and just identify it. I'm not a psychiatrist by any means, but if they can understand what they're going through, it makes it a lot easier. It really does.
Okay. So how are you helping people?
Just talking to young people about stress, mental health, getting help, talking. And that's a really good question because with AI, first it started off with social media and everybody became basically recluse on their phone. All the information is on their phone. And they forgot to say interpersonal communication is demanded by humanity. We are social creatures. We don't live on our phone. We don't love people on our phone. You can't smell on the phone, all the natural instincts. So that's my goal is really to help university level people understand how they can get help if they feel they're having crises and so forth. What's made it worse is AI because people are now going to AI and they're talking to AI as if it's their preacher, psychiatrist, their mother. And that's real dangerous now. And that's really my big fight right now is separating AI from reality, AI from humanity, and so forth. So that's this important aspect.
So what inspired you to write this book of yours, I Can Make Caffeine Nervous?
Well, I really did ever. I don't have children, and I thought this is a cool way of leaving some legacy. And what's also interesting why I wrote it is because with all the noise taking place through social media, texting, everything is just so garbled. And if I want to meet someone that is of value to me in business or value of me to do a project with, what better way in credibility building than sending a book and saying, I wrote this book. So I really also, it's a very fancy business card that I wrote, and people could understand who I am, which I think you and I spoke of this too, is that today everybody's also an author. They have AI write a book, they have companies who do the front and back cover, and then they're on LinkedIn saying best-selling author and so forth. And I've called people out and I call them. I said, this is Greg Bennett. Congratulations on your book. On what list are you best-selling author? And they don't respond. And those that do respond were like number 167 on Amazon list. What that does is really diminishes us who've worked so hard to make a book or to write a book. We pour our heart and soul into it. We actually are best-selling authors, and they diminish all the work we've done. And that, I think, is really unjust. But that's why I wrote the book, sort of a remembrance, if anybody will remember me 20 years from now. They probably won't remember me a week from now, but at least I left the book.
Okay, I'm sure you've left a legacy already with all
A-
the companies that you've started and scaled.
And then just the business card aspect of it, because it is unique to be able to say, here's a best-selling book. I wrote it. I'd like to talk to you about something. And it works.
Well, I think the title is very catchy. Every
Thank
time,
you.
when I first learned about your book, I thought, wait a second, making caffeine nervous, right?
Yeah. Behind that too, it's in the book. I was out at Riviera Golf Course out in LA where I used to live, and I'd play golf with a pro every so often. And one day we were out early, like 9:30. We're coming around the ninth hole, and he goes, Greg, you're the only guy that could make caffeine nervous. I don't know why I kept that for 20 years in my mind. I said, if I ever do something, I'm going to use that in the title. And I did, finally.
So, what does a typical day look like for you?
What did it look like?
What?
And what it looks like,
Yes.
it looks when you're building a business, you're literally 24/7. And I mean that sincerely. You're 24/7. And that's one of the reasons that I got so ill at the age of 40 is that I drove myself into the ground. And these genes that were inside me of panic, ADD, and other issues that I dealt with manifested themselves because of the stress that I was under. But it used to be get up at 4 in the morning, be at the office at 5, be home at 10, have dinner in between there somewhere. And as soon as I got in bed, it wasn't bed. I was thinking about the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And when you complete one thing, you don't wait for the accolades. Next thing, next thing, next thing. You never stop. Today's a little different because those companies have been built, they've been sold. And now it's more, I spend more time writing, more time thinking, more time trying to solve problems, issues that are going on in the world. And I write a lot of letters to people with my thoughts and comments, which brings me to another story. You really had me in a talkative mood today. I don't know what the hell it is.
I love it. The floor is
And
yours.
there was Stephen H. Smith, I think that's his name, is a journalist on ESPN, very renowned, very smart guy. And he was very upset about the black on black killings taking place in Chicago and around the country. He's African American as well, but just really knows sports, knows the world, and so forth. Now, I was watching it, and he was very upset with the reports of black on black killing. And he kept saying, they've got to do something about it. They've got to do something about it. And I'm writing him a letter to say, hey, there is no they. You are they. You get your butt out there and help solve this problem. You have money, you have a major platform, and you have a lot of celebrity friends. There is no they. They will not come. There is no cavalry coming. Do it. And that's one of the big issues is everybody's, I can identify the problem, but no one will do anything about it. I'm calling him out. I'm calling everybody out now because I'm at that stage where I really don't have to worry about my business reputation. But it's not calling them out and insulting them
Hmm.
because everyone does that today on social media. It's saying, I want to be part of your team. If you want to change the problem, you want to solve the problem, call me. I'll help you. We can do this together. Let's build a team and change it. So I'm not dropping it off on Stephen A. Smith. I want him to call me and take part in this. And that's one reason I created my foundation is to solve problems, collaborating with brilliant people and bringing their IP, their solutions to the world to light. Because highly intellectual people, professors, have a hard time communicating really to the public sector. I got tired of waiting for they. It's like, I'm they. Let's do this.
Okay. So it's a call to action for yourself and for others then.
If you want help, I will help you. If it's a worthy cause and you want some thinking, bring in other great collaborators, some really smart people, I'll do it. but let's not wait any longer.
So, could you tell us a little bit more about Genius Change?
Yeah, it's the foundation. And I was in the past, I sat on several boards. I was actually on the board of Florida State University, the development board, which is entrusted to raise money. And these boards were boring, lack of a better term. They talk about it, they feel good about themselves. At Florida State, they'd have meetings, go to football games, open bar. Nothing was getting done, except they were taking my money to be on the board. Because when you're on a board, usually you have to pay in, unless you're at the level of JP Morgan Chase, where they pay you to be on the board. So I was in a lot of these boards where I was like, what are we doing? What's the end game here? And I said, I'm done with this. I'll start my own foundation, find problems that I want to solve, get people that I've known over the years that are really good in certain areas, and we'll go solve it ourselves. We'll go create our own change. We'll become change agents in real time, not waiting. That is the reason for the genius change. And I call it genius because we really are working with geniuses around the world. Not me. I'm just sort of the armchair quarterback making things happen. The geniuses are the ones with the intellectual property and can really make things happen.
Okay. So, what's been your favorite project, endeavor that you've worked on?
The genius change itself is one of the most I'm proud of because building that foundation took a lot of thought, took a lot of energy. But I've worked, for example, uh, a university in the UK with a professor that came up with a way of having those that have been in car accidents or serious accidents that have serious spinal cord injury and can no longer move their legs and arms that were musicians. He created a cap that literally takes their thinking because they can still think perfectly, and it will actually play the keyboard, the piano. If they were pianists, they will do a violin. They watch it, and it'll play the music. If they make a mistake doing the notes, it makes a mistake. I'll actually send you the link. But it was that's fascinating to me because, first of all, I'm not a scientist, but I found ways of helping communicate it and market that. But that is what I call genius. And they actually have little orchestras now around the world that use his skull cap, and you have quadriplegics playing music. And many of these were savants. So that was pretty fascinating. Worked with a university on dyslexia, on really how to manage dyslexia with those that have it. Now, there's no cure for it, but getting information was very hard for parents. It was called scraping. They'd get information from everywhere. I worked with them how to communicate, where to find help on dyslexia, how to deal with dyslexia, and so forth. So they weren't guessing. When your child is found to have dyslexia when they're young, parents think it's a death sentence. What am I going to do? Well, you manage it. That's what you do. You just simply manage it. So those are two pretty important ones that I felt I've had, or three with my foundation.
Okay. And where do you want to see Genius Change be in 6 to 12 months?
I wish things moved that quickly because when you move with academia, with academics, I'm working as quickly as I can every day, and those that are collaborating. But when you deal with academics, it's a very, very slow process. Very slow, because first of all, you have to teach them to speak layman's terms. And so I'm taking their brilliant thinking, they're putting it down in writing, and then I'm rewriting it to put in layman's terms so they can then understand, those in the public sector can then understand what we're pitching, how we're trying to raise money for them. But I think what I'd like to see in the next 6 months is I'm working on an initiative, working with universities to talk to college students about mental illness and mental health, but on a large scale. So that's on my 6 month radar. On the other hand, I'm co-producing a movie with called Joe because his last name is so complicated. I don't want to butcher it, but we just love him for Joe O. And it's called Empty Locker. And it's really a documentary on those football players that never made it to the NFL. And they were left basically just empty out your locker, you're done. And there's literally thousands of these young men that are homeless, that are dealing with diabetes because they're overweight. spousal abuse, divorce, depression, suicide, jail, criminal. So if you were to ask, as you just did, what are the two big projects? Those are the two that I want to do in 6 months.
Okay, very noble and very challenging, but fruitful nevertheless for the quality of life improvement. Wow.
It's not that you walk away saying, hey, look what I've done. I'm really a nice guy. What it comes down to is being that when you're an entrepreneur, you love to solve things. You love to challenge things and you love to solve things that everybody else has been struggling to do. And you go, wait a second, it's not that difficult. We can do this. And hence the genius change. We're not waiting around for bureaucracy to make something happen.
That's great. So, how do you balance scaling your mission with staying true to its deeply personal roots?
I think because the culture of the company is me. I'm not going into an area that I don't quite understand. If I was to say I'm going to go into solving mathematical issues in this world and come up with cool mathematical things like Elon Musk with space, I would fail miserably because I'm horrible at math, horrible at engineering, and so forth. But I'm true to myself in getting into things that I love, I have a passion for. And it was really a passion for people and helping people meet their goals. That's really what the Genius Change is all about, is bringing aspiration and dreams to reality, but not doing it for them, working with them. Because once again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a dyslexia expert, but I learn a lot about the product or the project, I should say.
Hmm. So, what gives you the most hope about where human creativity and leadership are heading?
It's scary. I really don't know. You have now AI. I understand there's an actress who is an AI actress, and talent agencies want to sign her, and you don't know if it's real or not real. It's bigger than me. This is bigger than me. I will have no impact on the global stage on this. You're talking a different pay grade, but if I can help a handful to succeed, that would be great. So I'm staying away from the AI world. It's its own monster, or it can be its own gift too. When you look at surgeons, doctors being able to practice on kind of real bodies and doing surgery and being allowed to make mistakes in real time. I think AI's got a lot of great things going to it, but unfortunately, it can be used for a lot of bad things now. And there's a big thing about fake news. I mean, it's like there's people that are talking as if they're news people, and they're not even real. And people are going, "Wow, this is very cool." Someone's, they don't know if it's real or not. How do I know you're real?
Oh, goodness.
Goodness.
I'd probably be speaking a lot differently if I were not real.
Okay, I'll take that. But I've seen some AIs that are very eloquent.
Yeah.
It's just so fast. I think what I try to impress upon people, not only for AI, but for social media, God gave you a brain. Question things. Question all you can more than ever before. Don't take it for face value. Steve Jobs had a certain term. Before you can go forward, you got to connect the dots backwards. And that's from one of the smartest men that ever lived. Connect the dots backwards. If there's a story you're not sure, or just about any story, unless you hear it from the horse's mouth, connect the dots. I do that all the time. And it's scary where the story might have become, or where really the inception of the story. But we're lazy too. We become lazy. We become lazy. You read a headline, that's it.
They're newsletters now called TLDR, too long didn't read. Too long didn't read, TLDR. So they basically summarize news for you for those folks that just don't have the time to grab a newspaper and have some coffee and spend an hour in the morning.
But
Just
how do we know it's real what they're telling us?
we don't.
We don't. And they may say, well, we're encapsulating the news, but where exactly did you get that news from? Was it the Washington Post, New York Times, or the Guardian, or the Atlantic? They don't tell you that because you waste a lot of time But you asked me a question about the next 6 months, and we broached upon that when we were started to talk earlier. I was very I asked you about your podcast and how you put it together, and I've spoken to a lot of people, and you're very buttoned up. It's like on time, you know what you're doing. So I thought it's pretty impressive.
Thank
And
you
we
so much.
started, well, I started talking, and I said, I want to now start a podcast because that's the thing to do. But the podcast that I want to create, as we were talking earlier, was it's the big brother you know. And my whole vision for that is people want to be heard. They want someone to talk to. And I want to give them an option to talk to a real person that's had life experiences that can share those life experiences of business, which does translate into family in many, many ways. The rules of business is like a marriage, because marriage can be a business too. It's give and take, a lot of work, and business give and take, a lot of work, and a lot of love and a lot of passion. And they both share. And that is why I want to possibly create this, the brother you know, or the brother you never had, is that people can actually just vent and what do you think of this? Because AI will tell you pretty much what you want to hear. If you ask the question, AI is like the genie in the bottle that says, yes, master. That's exactly what it is. And I'm finding out there's a lot of people that just want to talk. They just want to have their opinions debated. Everyone has an opinion and they're all out there. But my intent is to be good, is to help, and is to bring experience. A lot of people don't have experience, and experience can save them from having their hands burnt, putting it in the fire too many times. I think vulnerability is part of life. That's being human. But not if you're on the social media world, you're not vulnerable because you can say anything you want and someone can criticize you and they're going to go, huh, so what? Vulnerability is part of life. Vulnerability is feeling good about yourself when you become human for a little while. That's why everyone texts, let's go on a date. And she'll say no. And you go, the hell with her. But you didn't have that face to face rejection. Ooh, that hurts, but that's life.
So now I want to know, what daily habit keeps you grounded?
I can't say that every day because as we talked about dealing with mental illness, you're not grounded every day. Some days you go through depression sometimes you go through depression for a week or two and you just ride it out because there's nothing you can do like take a pill. There's no pill for it. And there's medications and working with psychiatrists. That's all good, I tell people. But ultimately, you have to find your soothing mechanism. And what I mean by that is I love Broadway shows. I'm in my theater right now. And when I feel myself going into depression, I'll turn on a Broadway show because what it does, it transports my brain onto the screen and I'm on stage and it feels better. So it's really self-medication without pharmacological things. Other days, I get up and I can't wait to get to the computer and I can't wait to hit a project. I can't wait to write letters to people. I have a very close circle of friends now, and I love talking to them and seeing how they're doing. And we always check in with each other. But it's a very small circle because when I was, as I say, in the prime of your life, I had a hell of a lot of people. And as you get older, it's like getting rid of clothes. This shit, got rid of that. I don't need this anymore. So I wish I could say I get up and I do this, I do that, I make my bed, but every day is different depending how my mental health is doing, by how I'm dealing with it.
So, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received about leadership or growth?
Best piece of advice I've ever received. You're tough.
Hey, I've got you here. I'm going to ask the question.
No, it's a good question. I think there's been several. I think my mother gave me once, and she goes, and you got to do what feels right for you. And I've taken that with me everywhere I've gone. And my father gave me advice pretty much never degrade anybody. If, as he says, your rights end where their space begins. Don't go out of your way to hurt people. Don't go out of your way to degrade people. Walk away from them if you don't want to be part of that. I've made a mistake of doing it, not taking his advice, and it backfires. But those two, probably my mother and my father, and I think we're all, I don't know about you, but I think we're hardwired by our parents. And as we get older, we say, damn, they were right. They were right. But I mean, there's a million things you can do. I'm going to be teaching a class in Europe coming up. And the most important thing I tell students is to listen, be curious, and ask questions. That's the advice that I give. Listen, be curious, and ask questions. If you do those three things, AI goes away, social media goes away, interpersonal relationships to develop, love is much better, friendships are much better, associations are much better. And when I tell people that, they go, my God, I did that. And it like worked. Like I got a lot out of that conversation I had with the person. So listen, questions, and curious.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Greg. Thank you
Uh,
for joining us on CEO TED Talks. Your work with Genius Change reminds us that transformation is as much about awareness as it is about action. And to learn more about Greg, please visit geniuschange.org.
and I want to congratulate you on your work. And I think you bring the best out of people. And I think it's sorely needed now that we're not complaining. You just want to talk to people interpersonally. And I think that's just beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you for joining CEO Tech Talks. I hope today's conversation sparked new insights and inspiration for your own leadership journey. Until next time, stay inspired, stay visionary, and keep leading with light. Brought to you by Neura AI Consulting.